This is a continuation of the last two videos where we have been doing some game hacking, following along with the Unity-based game that was developed for the Game Hacking Village, now new, part of DEF CON and the most recent DEF CON 32 conference. In the last couple of videos, we were working through levels 1 through 3 using Cheat Engine, levels 4 through 6 with DNSpy, and we'll do a little bit more of that now as we tackle levels 7 through 9. So let's get back to level 7, and as we're spawned into the map here, this does tell us, hey, there's no more cheating from now on. Cheat again and you are out of here, and it looks like, oh, I bet you can't shoot all these targets in 10 seconds. So once we step on this, hey, bit of grass here, looks like we have some turrets to click on and shoot, but if we don't complete that within 10 seconds, then we will be shot by the turret over on the far side of the map here that kills us and we die. If we were to open up some of our tools like Cheat Engine and DNSpy, we can open these applications, try to get back to it, we can restart the level, see what the game is up to. But if I restart the level, you will see a big cheater detected and a small, trivial anti-cheat functionality in place. Some of you may have noticed, if we were to actually open up the assembly that we were working with previously, part of the game hacking data, we can move into the managed folder and that assembly C# that we were looking at. Opening up this DLL and looking at this managed assembly, inside one of the classes here, we did see this anti-cheat bit of code. And this is interesting. It actually will try to determine or detect if you have a debugger attached, looking for Cheat Engine, even looking for a hash of the code here. And you can see down below, there's another function to check, hey, are there any cheat processes running based off of some given process names. And down below, you might be able to see there is a big long list of known cheat tools. Things that might have in the name cheat, like Cheat Engine, ArtMoney, Game Guardian, DNSpy, .peek, etc. So since we have control over the executable, we could just simply remove this using some of the methods and functionality that we had previously to go ahead and just remove or stub out any bits of code or functions here. Like we could, there's nothing to stop us going down and modifying so that this known cheat tools is completely empty. You could modify any of the methods above, but honestly, since we know that this is a mono game or Unity game based off of mono here, a fun fact is that Unity will end up trying to run some of the regular built-in and like default functions for some of those classes that it uses, like start and update. Any class using these mono behavior scripts will end up calling these functions, but if it doesn't exist, well, then it would not be able to know what code to run. We could basically remove these functions, start and update, and then the anti-cheat, in quotes, is kind of rendered useless, unless any other game object were to instantiate it on its own, and we are operating under the assumption that this anti-cheat class just relies solely on itself. There's no other functionality from other objects or other classes, but at least from what we can see in the code, that's a fine deduction to make here. So let's right-click and then simply edit that class. Once this decompiles and is up and at 'em, well, I know, and we did have some chatter on the previous video, and like, well, honestly, you could, and you should, probably just end up manipulating the IL, or intermediary language bytecode. And I'll show that in just a second, but kind of getting back to basics, keeping to what we know thus far, we could just simply remove these two functions, start and update. Once we get back to the rest of level 7, we could go ahead and chat a little bit more about the IL code and the bytecode behind it. But for now, let's compile, save, and we can see this in action. We could, as usual, kind of follow through that process to save the module. I like to call this with /modified. I know there's some chatter, hey, it'd be worth doing some version control in a GitHub repository, or just having your own .NET Loader sort of stub that might end up loading some other stuff for your own cheats in the future. But for now, we're keeping it with the basics. This is all for the beginners at the start here. Because I'm a beginner too. And you know what? All right, let's close out Cheat Engine. We won't need that. But if we get back to the Explorer folder, we could get back to the folder for our Game Hacking GG, move into the data directory, and then just sort of hot swap our original C# DLL that the game loads and put in place the modified one, given a copy of it. Since we have backed up an original, that's probably fine, but I think it's still good to do. Now we can restart the game one more time, and with that, we can load back into level 7. Cool, now we can still work with DNSpy, do whatever we need to, and try to solve this task, where we're basically playing whack-a-mole, right? We kind of have to shoot any of these targets all within 10 seconds, but that's presumably, given all of them, impossible for what we're asked of. We're going to end up being killed by the turret one way or another. So if we look back in DNSpy, we can take a look to see, okay, what are these classes that might be pertinent to us and what we're up to? You might be able to see down at the very end here, there is a class called Whack-A-Mole. And this aptly fits the situation that we're in for this level, so we could dig into it and see what it's up to. Couple methods and functions here: begin whack-a-mole, spawn moles, spawn mole, And then on trigger enter, as it actually collides with, okay, whether or not we are going to start the process as we walk onto that little platform that started the game and the timer for us. Here's end game, on enable, on disable. This is a bit of a long one, but this check win is kind of interesting because that basically defines the win functionality or the win condition, right? To say, okay, we completed the task. We've successfully shot all the whack-a-mole turret things, whatever we're beating up. So here's the condition here. You might be able to see this if statement. If the spawn count and if the kill count, and this spawn count is not equal to 0, if the spawn count is equal to the kill count, so as many as the game has spawned you have killed, then it'll end up playing the sound and giving you feedback that you've completed that task, and then spawning the flag. In this case, the mole flag. Otherwise, it'll end up killing the player and then returning false. You did not win in this check win condition. So we could, of course, just modify the code here, given this example. But I did want to mention, look, you can do a little bit more if you want to get under the hood and work with that intermediary language. I think for this case, for this small, simple game, just for our learning, it's not super duper necessary, but I do want to let you know that that's totally possible. Rather than edit method or edit class as we've seen before, you can edit IL instructions. And this will bring up a whole new menu for you, where you get to see some of that intermediary language in the code behind it that will almost look like assembly instructions, but really just the equivalent in whatever C# or bytecode compiled language here. The lines here 9 through 16, the ones highlighted, are what make up the condition that we're seeing in that if statement. You saw the variables referenced, like the spawn count, the kill count, and these are all loaded with that LD load field, FLD I'm thinking. And you can put this side by side the original code if you want to see how that might map to, hey, what you're actually seeing in the C# that's decompiled. dnspy and ilspy and .peek will do its best to decompile, but it might not always work. And especially if you're in any sort of application that will do some deobfuscation or try to mangle or mask and hide bits of the code, it's worthwhile to dig into the IL operators and this IL code here. And you can toggle these if you'd like. Clicking into one of those operators, you can take a look at what the other options are for yourselves. Things like load constant, integer 4, being a 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Or anything else that it might do to load arguments or other pieces of logic. Really recommend you take a look at it online. It's probably worth having a reference and some notes as to what all of these might do. But truthfully, in this case, we don't really need to deal with them because we just kind of want to get rid of this condition. We just want to win one way or another. So basically, if true, just don't even have the if condition, let us run the code as we have won. So with that, all this selected as it was, I'm just going to hit delete. And now it's gone. Basically what we've been doing in the C# decompilation, but I did want to squeeze in some of that IL code so folks are aware of it. Now you can see our code has changed to not even deal with the return false condition underneath the if statement. Since it would return true at the end of this, we're just going to say, you know what, no matter what happened, you win. With that, we basically force the win condition, and we don't even need to shoot the moles or get shot by the turret at the end of the 10 seconds. So we'll save our module. Same process as always, just hot swap that in so we can work with it. Let's get into level 7 here, and now as we walk onto the platform, start the little activity to spawn all these whack-a-mole things to shoot at. Doesn't matter if we actually shoot at them or not. After 10 seconds, when it runs that check win condition as we saw in the code, we could do whatever the heck we want, but you'll see the flag has spawned just over there, so we'll go grab that and complete level 7. I can press I on my keyboard to open my inventory. You can see the flag here. Nice shooting, Tex. Fastest gun in the West. And now let's go back over and fall down the rabbit hole here to get onto level 8. Looking good. Now, on level 8, we have an interesting setup here. It says, hey, you apparently are the luckiest person in the world. If you're so lucky, it should be easy to win the lottery. Good luck. And we're given what looks like a chest here in the middle of the map and a floating kind of display to press the E key on our keyboard. So we could press E, and then it spawned that thing over there. And hey, hanging out with our unicorn raft, we could try to go collect it. Oh, if we aren't bumped by it. Now in our inventory, we have a fish. Okay, easy enough. Let's get back to the chest. We can go ahead and press E on our keyboard one more time. Now we have an apple. Good, good. Another fish, another fish. We can keep spawning these as much as we would like, but it looks like it just randomly gives us stuff. Okay, a balloon, another apple, a heart. Oh, that's awesome. So presumably the chest would give us the flag at some point, but it doesn't, and we aren't getting the right lottery numbers, so to speak, or we don't have the chance. It's not in the cards for us to actually get the flag from this, but presumably it could. So we could take a look at the code and try to make some sense of it, but I think for our learning now, we could probably level up. We could try some new things, get a new addition to our bag of tricks here. And remember, this is all an online resource. If you were to go visit gamehacking.gg in your web browser, this is the event page for the DEF CON 32 competition. You could download the game, you could download all the info, but the Unity CTF guide did include some other details and even some other tools that we might be able to work with. In this case, MelonLoader, and it's finally time for us to play with MelonLoader. If you were to take a look at the hints for the levels here, and again, all available online on that resource, gamehacking.gg, take a look at some of the levels. You could catch up to everything that we were at if you wanted to see some other ideas or some other tricks for those levels. Level 6, just previously, is where it was mentioning, you know what, maybe you could use MelonLoader and even use the Unity Explorer mod to be able to inspect some of the objects and see everything that's loaded into the game. This is exactly what we could do for level 7, but we will definitely do for level 8. So you could get this resource at melonwiki.xyz, and that'll bring us to MelonLoader, the world's first universal mod loader for Unity games. This supports IL2CPP and mono games. Obviously, we are just working with mono thus far. Would really love to dig into IL2CPP. I know a lot of folks in the comments were thinking about that one. I would like to pivot to some Unreal Engine and real games once we're done with this series. But for now, hey, we're having fun with Unity and MelonLoader. So look, you've got a couple options here. You can do the automated installation or the manual installation. Although it does note, it's highly recommended to use the automated installation when you can. So if we scroll back up to the automated installation, all we really need to do is download the installer, go ahead and run it, press select to open the game itself, and then it'll automatically detect whether it's a 32-bit or 64-bit game and what you might end up using for the version of Unity. You could specify that just as well, but the automated installer makes this nice and easy for us. So let's get that downloaded. We can open that up and go ahead and get it started here. And with that, it will, honestly, super easy, just let us select our game. So we'll navigate to our Game Hacking GG and the Game Hacking GG executable. Once I open that, it'll say, look, this is a 32-bit version that has auto-detected that, and the version of Unity that it's kind of cruising through. With that, we can go ahead and click Install, and then it'll download whatever it needs to, get it all set up, staged in the folders, and then the install is successful. You might be able to see now, if we go back to our Game Hacking GG, there is a lot more in this directory here, noting the MelonLoader, other mods you might be able to use, other user data, user libs, etc. I would recommend you keep taking a look at the wiki, though. They do have a little bit more insight on maybe if you were to play with this with Linux, maybe for Linux native games or any other info, some contact details, and even launch arguments. Looks like command line arguments that allow you to do different things as it started up. Worthwhile to know, but honestly, that kind of tells us, okay, this is going to end up doing some console work, right? Like if I were to get back to the folder and run our game, at this point now it opens up MelonLoader, which is kind of cool. And you can see some of the insight. And look, how if we were to end up running this thing with the command line, now you could provide those arguments. But let's exit out for now, because on its own, MelonLoader isn't all that helpful. We really need the mods, or really adding the capability to use MelonLoader. But that will have created the user libs folder if you didn't have that created prior, and that will be helpful as we get our Unity Explorer up in action. Now, if we go back to Unity Explorer, go take a look at that on the GitHub repository, we do have the releases that we might be able to download, but there are a lot of them, and that might be a little bit confusing. So if I may, I'd suggest, look, just go take a look at the README, get a little bit more insight and info on this thing. It is an in-game UI, or user interface, for exploring, debugging, and modifying IL to CPP and mono Unity games. So this is awesome. This is going to come in super duper handy, and if we were to end up using it with MelonLoader, like we're planning on doing, all we need to do is unzip one of the release files into a folder, probably the one labeled MelonLoader, and copy the DLLs into the mods folder of your MelonLoader mods folder, copy all the DLLs inside the user libs folder into your MelonLoader user libs folder. Nice and easy. So let's go back over to the releases, download the rendition that we need, and then follow those instructions. I want MelonLoader for mono. Download that. Let's go ahead and extract this. And now we can put these side by side. So the mods folder over for our Unity Explorer should be able to just drag that in for MelonLoader. We'll do the very same for our user libs, just drag and drop. And now this is pretty cool. If we were to go open our game once again, you can see all the MelonLoader things firing up, as well as, I don't know if you caught it, the Unity Explorer being loaded alongside the game. So now when we get into action here, you've got all these new menus that pop up. And this is actually something you can toggle with F7. F7 on your keyboard that will display or hide and show, okay, the Object Explorer clipboard that you might be able to copy and paste pieces of data and info, class data, etc. in and out. even a debug log here, and of course you can drag and move and manipulate these windows however you would like. But with all that said, let's go ahead and dig into what would be level 8 now, and let's see what it loads once we get into the scene, or the map. I can walk around as normal, and hey, kind of work with our chest as we might play the lottery, see what this will spawn for us. But just a fish isn't really all that helpful. We can see everything that's displayed here though in the Object Explorer. So let's get a little bit curious and kind of treat this as more discovery based, right? What else do we have present here? You see chest? Yeah, okay, so we can open that up, click into it, and now look at the inspector that opens. This is kind of awesome because you can totally change and manipulate whatever you want here, like the position of an object, its rotation, its scale, X, Y, Z. I want to actually do that. Can I make this like 12 for one of the axes and like double it in size? What does it look like now? So look at just how you can tweak and tune and play with literally anything, all the data and information about the game as it's running. You can see the children for an object, even some of the components that it's made up of. So the components have some interesting stuff here, right? You probably see this lottery check, and that sounds about right. That sounds like something, we might want to drill down into if we're trying to get the chest to return a flag. So I'll click into that. It'll take a second to load, but look at all this stuff here. Again, please, treat this as discovery, treat this as something that you just want to explore, see what's available. I really recommend you just kind of play with the interface, see what you can toggle, see what you can tweak, and have a little bit of fun here. Note, you do kind of have tabs for what you're looking at up top, so if there weren't anything all that interesting in our chest lottery check component there, we could get out of that. There's even a button activated zone, which is probably like, as we get closer and closer to the chest, being able to actually press E and like the proximity to be able to determine, okay, will we go follow through that functions? The loot, though, that's dropped by the chest is probably what's interesting to us. So let's dig into that. As that's opened in the inspector, take a look at all the properties, information, things that are included. And as we keep scrolling down, we can see anything that might be more related to loot. Like loot, game, object to loot. Ooh, maybe it's chosen one out of a given, table here, loot table, like all the possible options. Like loottable.so, looks like it has a little bit more detail there. So let me click into inspect, and this is pretty sweet. Now we have what is this, more mountains. More mountains, by the way, if you wanted to Google one of the engines, I think like some, quick and easy kit that was used to help develop the game, given the models and properties and display and format and all. Just something to sort of streamline development. But let's look at the loot table. I can click into that one here and inspect it, and maybe that'll say, okay, these are all the objects that could be spawned. Like, look at this. We have a maximum weight so far, sort of variable weights computed, objects to loot, and this is something that actually is a collections. So it's a big long list, or an array of things that could be spawned, right? Let's collapse that, or expand that, excuse me. And now look at these choices here, 0 to 6, so we're 0 based, but if I were to inspect any of these loot game objects, let's take a look and see what we have here. Letting this load, but take a look. Game object loot, in this case, it's the apple. And it has like a chance percentage as to how likely that object is to be spawned. Even has a weight, which is interesting. But let's go back. We can use the tabs at the top here to go back to what we were looking at. Let's go see some of the others. We know the apple spawned. Do we have the fish here? Yeah, okay, cool. So that index 1, again being 0 base, the fish is what another option might be, given another 33% chance. Let's keep exploring, kind of see what else we got in there. We know some balloons had spawned. We saw the heart. How about this one? This is our lottery flag. Nice. That's what we're looking for. But the chance percentage is practically 0 in this case, 0.0033. Could we just like copy that object representation with the copy buttons over by the side here? Yep, okay, we can. We can see that in our clipboard. And maybe we could toggle or tweak some of the chance percentages just as well. Say it's 100% chance to work with. Maybe the game weight we could amp up like we saw for the others. They were like 10,000 or whatever. But honestly, a little silly hack might just be kind of going back to the other objects and then just pasting in, rather than it being an apple or a fish that would spawn, let's tell it to drop the flag. Kind of Dumbo, kind of cheesy, but that would work, right? We can go back to Apple, and we could do this if you wanted to for all the others, but as long as you feel like, you know what, there's going to be a decent chance and percentage likely that the flag will spawn. So with that all done, let me hit F7 to get back to the game, and I'll hit E to open the chest, and will we get a flag or anything spawned? E. Yep, okay, there's the flag. We did it! Super easy. Oh, it looks like I have to jump to go reach it. But now you might have saw it just over on the right-hand side. Take a look at our inventory with the I key. Wow, wow, lucky pull. Oh, they don't know our cheats. They don't know our hacks. Using Unity Explorer and MelonLoader to get into some cool action here. So let's go down now to level 9. And please, 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 seriously, go take a look at all the sweet stuff you can do. F7 to toggle back and forth to use and tinker with this Object Explorer and Unity Explorer. This, I think, is a real game changer to be able to manipulate stuff in real time, like in action while you're playing the game for Unity. I do want to close all, though, and now let's get back to the game itself. So let me hit F7 and see what we have to do for this final level, level 9. It says, I'm done with you. Just race to the finish, but don't miss any coins. Bye. Okay, cool. So I just shift to run. Oh, shoot. It started a timer. I have like 10 seconds to make it to the end of this race. I don't know if that's going to happen. This is looking pretty lengthy. Grab all these coins, and I'm dead. Cool. All right, well, let's restart the level and see what other things we might be able to do with our Unity Explorer. Now that we have F7 as the cool capability, what do we have going on? What are the objects that are loaded here? Let's scroll down, and what we might be able to do is actually change our character and make him run faster. Like holding down shift allows us to run, but one trick might be able to see, look, are there any properties about the player? I'm assuming POC, proof of concept, character is the player itself. Yeah, that has that tag and that layer. Oh, dude, this is where we absolutely need to make ourselves like a giant. Let me see that. All right, bring that to like 20. Can we go off screen here? You know what? Let me settle on 5. There we. Oh no. Okay, but if we were to restart the level, will those changes stay in effect? No, they will not. So, good to know. Okay, anything that we tweak will be for that iteration, right? That running execution of the level. Anytime that we die or have to restart, we'll have to reset after all the changes that we would make in the Unity Explorer because they're all new objects, right? But let's see if our little character has any of these components that we might be able to mess with. Oh, do you see character run down there? Yeah, that might be a fine option. Let me double click into that, give it a chance to load. And now we could see all these properties. And again, there are a ton of these. You could keep scrolling, you could explore, you could see what else you might be able to mess with. Even functions that you could totally call, like click evaluate and let them run, do it if you want. I did see way back at the top though, just about a run speed, which right now was set to the float of 8, but can we set that to like 20? Let's hit apply. F7 to hide that, and now if I hold down shift, whoa, we're zooming! Oh, it started the match. Okay, are we going to be able to finish that? I don't know. I don't think I'm going to have the time. No, 2 seconds, absolutely not. I'm dead. I would love to learn, and seriously, this is things that I don't know, because I'm still trying to get smart on this. I am still trying to learn myself. But how could we even script a lot of this tweak and tuning and kind of playing with Unity Explorer and objects that we might be able to work with based off of this info? Like, could I just have something running in the background, like external mod or whatever trainer or whatever we want to call it, to say, look, I always want my run speed to be like 30. Let's hit apply. But I'd love to see, hey, how can we bring that out of the game rather than just that interface? All right, let me try to make the race now. Oh, I'm going to miss the coins. Oh, no. Will I make it? Will I make it? I don't think I'm going to make it. I made it. The flag spawned, but I died anyway. What the heck? Is there some other logic or some other condition that we should mess with? Well, now we can kind of go back and forth and combine all the things that we've learned thus far using either cheat engine or using DNSpy or ILSpy or .peek or whatever other assembly manipulator that we'd like. And using Unity Explorer in this little MelonLoader mod here, we might be able to still get it done. So let's get back into DNSpy and say, look, is there anything back in our assembly that we're working with all about our level 9? Okay, yeah, I see L9 finish, L9 timer. What do these do? L9 timer is going to check if it has all the coins. Game object coins is all the coins, make sure they're active, and this is just as it starts, right? Yeah. On game end, kill player. I don't think I want that. Can I remove that? Timer end. We don't need to particularly mess with the timer, but trigger game end doesn't sound cool. Granted, that's just called when it ends. Anyway, we could easily replace this, right? Let's right click and you could replace method body with stub, which is another sweet little trick that we had. If you wanted to just do nothing, that right click option will work fine. Kind of saves us the process of letting it decompile, just backspace and stuff out. Small, simple thing, right? What else can we do with L9 finish? Is that going to be something we should work with? Untrigger enter. If it is the player, if it's game over, then return. Check endgame requirements, kill player. Oh, if they aren't met, it'll kill the player. Otherwise, all that. Okay, no, it would end up putting the flag here. So that is a condition that we want, but it is worried about these check game requirements. That's determining if we have all the coins. Did we miss some? Does it spawn some things that I'm just not tracking? Maybe they weren't visible to us, so we would need to make this change, hack it a little bit, and kind of beat up this condition. We can totally do that, though. Like, we've got that capability. Let's edit IL code. Just, again, get those IL instructions, and then honestly just remove that condition. I don't want it to kill the player, though, just either. So let's knock those out. You can see that it's now doing weird stuff because it has some leftover details there. So when we move this to the side to try and see what else it's kind of comparing it to and how that maps to those old op instructions, then we might get a better idea. We probably still want to keep the condition of colliding with the player. If it's game over, return. I don't really need that to happen. I just need it spawning the flag. So can I select all of these? And we don't need the ret either. Removing the bool kind of processing there and triggering kill player. Let's just leave one load arc 0 for it to be able to keep working on the stack. And then all it will do is the completion feedbacks, play feedback, note is game over, and spawn the speed flag. Fingers crossed. Let me hit OK, and then we'll see how that looks. Let it kind of bring it back together. Oh, did some weird stuff on that condition. Okay, well, that is why we kind of want to get smart on the conditions of the IL instructions and opcodes there, right? We can Control-Z or edit undo, though, if we'd ever like to go back. Let's start from a different position and then try to edit the IL instructions from there. And we know that we're starting okay from 4. Let's also cover everything from triggering kill player and remove that. We hit delete. Let's try that one. Click OK. Okay, cool. That's looking good. If it is the player that collides with the end, L9 finish, in which case it will succeed, play feedback, game over true, and spawn the flag. Let's try that. Save module and that whole rigmarole. Let's start the game up with MelonLoader. Hey, getting Unity Explorer all in the mix just as well. Level select 9, and we can go see as we spawn. Let's go change our character's speed. Remember, that is the character run component that we were looking at, and one of the variables or properties down here was that run speed. Let's amp that up to 30, click apply, and then honestly, I don't think we even need to catch the coins anymore, right? Like, that win condition doesn't matter anymore. So let me just speed run through some of them, and will we win? We win! Excellent! The flag does not let me get it anymore, though. I don't die as the timer runs out, so that was some good little thinking there. The flag does not disappear. What the heck? Do I have it in my inventory? I do. There's the last flag. Zoom, zoom, moneymaker. Excellent. And there is no level 10 here, at least not from what we see. I will tell you, though, there is a level 10, and there's also another secret flag. So we are not quite done with this game and the little Unity game hacking that we've been doing. I would like to move into some Unreal Engine soon, again, as I'm trying to learn and get a little bit smarter on some of this, trying to dig into, hey, a lot of the other resources that are out and about online. I'd like to show that all to you, but look, we're going to take the baby steps, crawl, walk, and then run if the time allows it. But I hope this has been a cool showcase as we move from Cheat Engine to DNSpy to MelonLoader, Unity Explorer, and stockpiling all these new skill sets if you haven't seen them before. And if you have, look, please let me know. Give me some of the feedback on what I am doing right or wrong or otherwise, or some cool tools, or some other techniques, some tricks that you might have up your sleeve. I saw some folks mentioning something called Harmony, and I know a lot of folks were saying, hey, we should try to dig into some IL to CPP and other works, but look, this is a whole new wide world for me, and I'm just trying to learn and help showcase what I can figure out, but hey, give me all those resources and let me learn just alongside you. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please do all those YouTube algorithm things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, but hang on, before we go, I want to make my character like a chonker. Give him 5x5 here. Does that work? He's so slow now. Wait, we can zoom with the playback speed. Oh, don't fall, don't fall.